All right, we are back, and we have a brilliant guest today. He's a multi-hyphenate individual. You know him as the voice of Solid Snake, but he's also an incredible writer, contributed to X-Men and X2 and Watchmen, and he's got his own feature called Wolves out there with Jason Momoa. So much to talk about with Mr. David Hayter. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
Come on in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would stand up, but I would pull so many wires out of here. I'd probably start a fire if I stood up in the middle of a
tight
show.
fit.
It is. Yeah, we're still figuring things out.
Thank
you so much for
it's
being here.
Absolutely. It's
This is
very
awesome.
intimate.
Three nerds talking about nerdy things.
That's right. Three telegenic nerds.
Very nice. I like that. Welcome to Vancouver.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to be here.
Why-
I love this city.
It is a beautiful city, right? And you brought sunshine from Los Angeles for us, which we appreciate. But why are you here?
Why am I here? Why are any of us here? I'm here to appear at the Canadian Fan Expo.
Cool.
Say hello to some of the people and hang out and eat in the restaurants and drink Canadian beer and get some tidbits from my daughter.
What is your favorite Canadian beer? Is it just
God.
like Canadian or
No.
Granville Island? Or?
Well, no. I mean, I usually get like local beers and
Yes,
try to.
yeah.
I tried those. I mean, I don't know. I like Creemore and Sleeman's, and I've got a lot of favorite Canadian beers.
There's a lot
I
of
mean,
craft beers in
yeah,
Vancouver.
We're pushing for sponsors right now.
If
is what
people
we're
don't, if people don't realize, I was born in California, but my entire family is Canadian, and I spent much of my life growing up mostly in Ontario and Montreal. And thank you, Toronto.
Do you have dual citizenship, or
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so you can live wherever you want to live.
I can go wherever I want.
Yes.
They can't stop me.
And the cool thing about your work is that you just float. I mean, that's kind of like the recipe for your life too. You can go wherever you want. You can be a voice in a TV show, or an actor on screen, or you can write a movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you
Just
make
like
it
you
sound
planned it,
easier,
right? Yeah.
easier than it is. But I am very fortunate in that I gained a bit of credibility in a number of different areas of the entertainment industry towards the end of the last millennium, and that's served me pretty well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You have worked with both Bryan Singer and Zack Snyder.
Correct.
Both of these gentlemen come with a whole bunch of controversy around them for different things.
Well, they certainly do.
Yes, but
They certainly do.
Tell me a little bit about working with these guys, because say what you will about them, they've both created very beautiful work, incredible work. They're enigmatic individuals, and they're talented people as well. Yeah.
Wildly talented people. I've been lucky enough to work with. There was Singer and Zack Snyder, and I've worked with Ang Lee a little bit, and Paul Greengrass, and some truly amazing directors. I didn't get a chance to work much with Zack. Like they kind of took my script and went forward at Warner Brothers, and I was on to something else. But I did fly up to Vancouver, and when they were shooting.
That's right. They shot Watchmen here.
Yeah, they were shooting Watchmen, and they were shooting like the newsstand stuff, and I was sitting with Jackie Earle Haley, and got to and Zach and his wife Deborah were so sweet and showed me the owl ship and all that stuff. It was
That's
really
awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So those two movies, when you look at X-Men 1 and X2, which were both shot in Canada as well, which is crazy.
Yeah, X2 in Vancouver and X1 in Toronto.
Yeah. And then you look at Watchmen, it's almost like you could really point to them as cornerstones for where superhero entertainment has come since then. They really helped to launch a lot.
I am constantly pointing at them, and for that exact reason.
Yeah.
When we made X-Men, the first X-Men, for example, it was a very different world, and the studio was like, there's no way that a movie with 11 superpowered main characters is going to work. Nobody's going to understand it. It's not Batman, it's not Superman, and they were very, very pessimistic, and of course it worked out okay, and now here we are. So I'm sorry.
Could you have called that?
Well, as a comic book fan, as a lifelong nerd, yeah, I was like, I love Superman, I love Batman, I love Spider-Man, but Wolverine is the best there is at what he does, even though what he does is not very nice.
Yeah.
But I love the X-Men so much that I always felt that there was potential. I think for the core group of filmmakers, me, Singer, Kevin Feige was there,
Yep.
Tom DeSanto. You know, we really believed in the story we were telling, and not only the characters, the world, the badassery, but in the message of anti-bigotry and divisionism and all that stuff. So yeah, we really believed in it, and I think that belief shows through to a certain extent.
Now anything goes, it feels like, right?
Yeah, anything with a cape.
Well, but also the artistry can kind of filter into a bunch of different directions as well. I just watched
Totally.
The Umbrella Academy, and I thought it was fantastic.
Right.
But you see the influence; it's all over the place.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, what can I say? It was a very fortunate time, and yeah, our director Brian was, difficult but quite brilliant, and really gave us a way to view these things in a way that felt real for camera. So.
You had already had somewhat of a career working in the film and television industry prior to X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
You had done some on-camera work as an actor.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
else? What else had you done any writing before that?
Just for myself.
Yeah.
I had never intended to be a writer. I had produced a little film called Burn in '97.
Mm-hmm.
That I did a little shaping of the script, but didn't really see myself as a writer. Yeah, and prior to that, I guest starred on Major Dad. I was the lead in a movie called Guyver, Dark Hero. I did a ton of anime, so if you watch a lot of anime.
Gundam 0080. one of my
That's
favorites,
right. I was
absolutely.
Bernie. I was
Yes.
Bernie in the Gundam War in the Pocket series.
Love that anime, so good.
Yeah, I got to do. I was the lead voice in Lupin, Castle of Cagliostro, which was Hayao Miyazaki's first film.
Amazing.
Which is astounding.
It's an astounding film.
Yeah, so I got to do so much cool stuff. But I mean, I was broke as hell until X-Men came along. So I got to do fun stuff, but it didn't pay very well. Oh, look how young I am.
There you
Well,
are.
I gotta ask you the number one question.
It's like I've melted.
A lot of people want to know, when is Guyver 2 coming to Blu-ray? When is that happening?
Blu-ray. But that's not even the question. The question is, when is Guyver 3 going
Oh,
to be?
that
when
would be
is Guyver
amazing.
3?
That would be
Yes.
incredible. But
I've been, we've been
Yeah,
talking.
We're in the age where actors stay with roles forever.
You gotta
We're
come
going to get a
back.
new Rambo movie this year.
I have suggested that maybe we do a Guyver 3 where I come in as the Luke Skywalker elder,
Yes.
Guyver advisor who tells
Right.
the kid he's screwing it all up.
That'd be amazing.
So we'll see. As far as Blu-ray goes, I have no idea. But,
I've been waiting. I got the DVD. I've been waiting for years.
I know, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to get into Solid Snake and Metal Gear stuff in a second here, but I want to stay on X-Men for a bit because we're at the end of the run, it looks like. That started with Bryan Singer's kind of first kick with it.
Mm-hmm.
With Dark Phoenix, the trailer was just released yesterday. Kevin Feige hasn't said what the plans are, but what do you think? What's going to happen now? Are they going to just wipe it all off and start from fresh and cast all over again?
Yeah, well, I'll start with a caveat. I don't know at all
Yeah.
what they're going to do. However, Disney has now bought Fox, so they will. Oh, there's me.
That's awesome.
So they will. Disney will want to put its own stamp on it, and it's finally back in the hands of Kevin Feige and Marvel.
Yeah.
So whereas it was really a Fox set of productions before.
Yep.
Now they're all under one fold, so I think you'll get kind of a more Marvel pass on it for whatever that means. I don't know what they'll do. I would imagine it'll be young people so that they can extend the franchise as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's all just speculation.
Were you happy with the way that it went as they sort of casted for First Class and
Yeah.
started to make it a younger version with Matthew Vaughn, I think was...
Yeah, Matthew Vaughn,
Yep.
who is a brilliant director, did Kick-Ass and many other Kingsman, and it's amazing. Yeah, I loved First Class, and then I really loved Days of Future Past.
too,
Because that
yeah.
was one we had talked about doing back in the day, and then when they did it, I just felt like they knocked it out of the
They
park.
knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
so
I mean, that was the first one that I really felt like it just so felt like our first two movies. It sort of had that flavor again, and yeah, I just loved it as a fan.
What did you think of Logan? And because
Oh,
you were
loved
there,
Logan.
right? You were there when Hugh Jackman was brought in, and it was...
I was there the moment he got cast. I was
Right.
there the moment
Wow.
Brian shook his hand and said, "Do you want the gig?" And he was like, "Yeah, mate, I'll take it."
That's so
And it changed
crazy.
all of our lives. And
So
Yeah.
did you get emotional, though? Was there like
Yeah,
a
oh, yeah.
personal connection watching Logan?
Oh yeah. I mean, again, that one, and I've sort of exchanged. I was complimenting James Mangold, the director of
Amazing.
Logan, who
Yeah.
I just thought that was astounding. He got to do all the stuff that we couldn't do because he got to do it R-rated, and really, there was so many beautiful nods to our original story, like the X-Men 1 story, and yet it was so masterfully updated and so tragic, and to see Hugh and Patrick doing what they were doing was very emotional for me. I just thought it was a beautiful film.
Yeah.
It was, beyond, it doesn't feel like a superhero film. It feels like a Western. It feels like an epic sort of tale of final redemption. And yeah, I just thought it was spectacular.
It's crazy because when you think of what the MCU has done, most of those movies are pretty damn fun. They've done a pretty good job getting those movies. And most of the X-Men movies have been pretty damn fun too. There's been a couple that have been, so-so, but they've made so many, and they're all pretty damn solid. And you don't really see that across other genres, Like the James Bond movies are all over the place.
Right.
The Harry Potter movies, in my estimation, are kind of all over the place.
A huge
Star Wars?
amount of that is due to Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
So Kevin was in on the first X-Men, and people ask me all the time, what's the secret of his success? And the secret is that he's just like us. He came into it through the toys. He loved the toys, and he knew the histories of all the characters, and he just absolutely loves Marvel.
Yeah.
And again, that's what you need to make this feel real and to make it feel compelling. And so and his run as this uber executive is unprecedented.
Yes.
So very rarely do you have somebody that brilliant whose voice is that consistently utilized to make everything feel of a piece. So I really give it to him. Also, he hires incredible directors, incredible actors, craftspeople. There's so many people involved in making them great. But I think it really comes from Kevin.
We're going to get off superheroes. I can talk about superheroes forever.
But honestly, it's an interesting subject.
Yeah.
When we grew up, there wasn't that many superhero movies.
I know.
Now we got like 40 movies.
I know.
Well, and
we had Superman and Batman 1989, and that
we
was
had to
about
wait
it.
so long, and
Yeah.
they were like dreams that maybe one day, and
We
now
live in that. The nerds finally took over, and it's amazing.
It's an overabundance.
They went crazy though, right?
Well,
They went nuts.
nerd paradise.
Yeah.
We've got Greg Berlanti, though, on the TV side of things.
Yeah.
And I think he's been killing it as well.
Totally.
And you have played King Shark on the Flash and Arrow
That's
show.
right. I'm King Shark, and I'm constantly disappointed that I haven't eaten the Flash.
So I play the Big Shark Man on the Flash, and in fact, I think in 2 days, the Flash episode is going to come out where King Shark takes on Gorilla Grodd, which
that's
we've
so
been waiting
cool.
for a long time. And I've been hassling David Sobolov, who does the voice of Grodd, for quite some time, that I was going to bite his hand off. So I'm hoping that happens. I don't know.
Were you able to come up to Vancouver for any of that shooting, or is
No.
all voiced it in L.A.?
No, the voicing is all done in L.A.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So not even for the rap parties or anything like that?
Particularly not for the rap parties. I think some of those people have seen me at other rap parties and said that's not for us.
We like your voice, just don't come and party.
That's
with us.
right.
Yes.
That's right.
Gotcha. So as an actor and as a writer, I think that's probably advice that you would give to anybody that wants to be in the performing arts, is write your own stuff, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, if that's in you,
Yeah.
if because writing, in this day and age of massive content consumption, it is very powerful to be able to write your own material. However, that's a hard life.
Yeah.
It's hard to get into. It's hard to maintain. So you can't just say, "Oh, I'm an actor, so I'm going to start writing." You have to have a writer inside you, or it'll crush your will to live.
You've had success, though, crossing all of those streams, and do you think a big part of that success was because you were willing to do that and to learn all of the ropes?
Yes, and also because I loved writing. I started when I was 12. I would write little stories instead of doing my homework, and I had written, when I came to LA, I wrote like 8 short scripts and a feature, but really just to have a sense of the process as an actor. I didn't know how you would get a job being a writer.
Yes.
But so I really did have it in me, and when I got the chance to do it, and when people like read my stuff and said, "Oh, this is good," I was so fired up, and that allowed me to
It's
get
hard
into
back
it.
then without the internet. To get in contact with people. Who do I get in contact
Absolutely.
with? Now you can easily socially network around.
And-
but
and
back
you
then
can-
it was like, how do I do this stuff?
You can create your body of work on YouTube, and that's
Yeah,
leading to
exactly.
things.
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
You could write a script, do a script reading, put it on the internet, and potentially everybody, has access to see it. It's still, I'm sure it's still not easy for anybody to. The real problem, and you may be familiar with this, is not the writing, or even getting it into the hands of the right people. I mean, that is hard. It's getting people to say, "I'm going to give you $100 million to do this."
Yeah. Like
because
writing
people
a
tend
check
to,
and
because
signing a contract,
because it's one thing to go, "Oh, your script's really good," and you're like, "Okay, great, give me $100 million," and they're like, and you can see them sort of like start to throw up in their mouth. So that's a real trick too, and you kind of. From that perspective, you kind of need a little bit of a producer's attitude as well. That you're able to come in and say, this is what the production is, this is why it's worth putting up this much money for my script. And
Well, one thing that I think I know about you is because you sort of said, look, I can do a bunch of these different things, and I'm going to roll with what my career provides me. You remained open, even though you'd been on camera and been a lead of a movie, and you had a trajectory going in that direction. You also said, I'm gonna do voice work, and I'm gonna do voice work for video games. At a time when we were transitioning from cartridges that had like
to CD-ROM.
had "You're Out" or something like that, and,
Right.
and now it's like a full acted performance as Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid.
yeah, well, that wasn't a matter of being open. That was a matter of just, I'll do anything.
Okay.
I mean, I'll do anything as long as it's fun, and that remains to this day.
Yes.
If people are doing like a little movie or something, and they're like, "Well, you play the lead," I'm like, "Well, you've met the criteria, so you asked, so I'll do it." At the time we did the first Metal Gear, just before we did it, I was in a few video games. I was in like Mech Warrior 2 and playing like a mech pilot and stuff like that. So it was starting to happen, and actually, the first video games I did were in 1985.
Wow.
When I was in high school in Japan, and this video game company came to my high school. It was an American school.
Yeah.
And they said, we need 4 young men who speak English to come do video game voices. So I don't know what games they were for, but they were for the original arcade console games.
Wow.
So I've been doing voices in video games since
That's amazing.
the beginning.
That's amazing.
So I always felt, and I love gaming myself, and so I always felt, I never really, I shouldn't say this, I never really cared what the money was. I just loved doing it.
Right.
Now I care. It's very expensive.
It's amazing to look back that Metal Gear Solid is 20 years old now.
It's
Isn't that
astounding.
amazing?
It's astounding.
And I bet back then when you went to do that role, did you think it would be iconic or you'd be remembered for that particular role? For all your stuff, but that role is so
that
iconic.
role in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when I went in to audition for it, all of the original artwork by Yoji Shinkawa
Yes, amazing
was
stuff.
up on the walls, and I got a sense that this was a big swing, and that they were really trying to do something cinematic and different. And so we had an idea of it, but I mean, the concept that we'd be talking about it 20 years later, that would be the best known character I ever played, was not in my mind at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I'm going to go and sign autographs now for a bunch of hours, and over this thing that we did 20 years ago. It's
You
bizarre.
are the only Snake, absolutely,
Wow.
right?
Yes.
Right? The only Snake.
Yes.
Well,
I'll clap
thank
for
you.
an hour here,
Thank you.
without question.
Thank you.
Without
I
question.
appreciate that.
So you do have fans, though, from a lot of different parts of your work. Would you say that it's Metal Gear that gets you the most recognition?
Oh,
And
yeah.
People want to come up and shake your hand because of that the most, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the level of fame. I mean, it's still a weird niche-y fame.
Yeah.
But it comes from Metal Gear, and it's so funny because my life is really mostly going to meetings and working on projects in Hollywood as a writer, and they know me as a writer, and then we'll be at lunch and somebody will come up and say, "Hey, aren't you Solid Snake?" And the vice president of the studio is like, What?
That's got to
What
be
are they-
changing.
what are they
though.
talking about that?
We are on the precipice of somebody nailing a video game movie. And,
Yep.
and what is it,
Jordan Vogt Roberts.
Vogt
He told
Roberts.
me that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, Vogt Roberts is going to be making a Metal Gear film.
Yeah, yeah.
So then it's going to shift again, and you've been there too. I mean, that's pretty like these open to anything kind of credo that you had.
Yeah.
Pretty wise.
How
Well, I guess I always sort of took the Michael Caine approach. You know,
Yes.
it's like if it's a joke, I'll take it. And you know, sometimes that turns you into Michael Caine, sometimes it turns you into me.
So let's talk a little bit about Metal Gear through the years here for a second, because when you started, you had a very robust script. I know that they presented a massive script to you with many pages.
Yeah, it was
And-
about yay high.
And then how high did they get?
They were too high to stack up. So the first game took us about 10 days to record. Metal Gear 4 took us 9 months
Yeah.
of not constant, but near constant recordings every day from February to October. So yeah, I never saw the whole script. I mean, the whole script would have been stacks the size of this table. I mean, easily.
And I interviewed you for Metal Gear 4 because we did the behind the scenes there, and I remember, I mean, the character in that game was so, fraught with just heavy stuff that has happened to him. And
Yeah.
there was an emotional thing, right? Like there really was almost like a saying goodbye to the character in the game. It ended up being true in real life too, but
Thanks for bringing that.
Yeah, I know.
I want to get into that too. But how did it feel?
Do you have any lemon juice?
I know, right?
How did it feel, through that progression and sort of being that familiar with him and then having to kind of bid adieu?
Well, he was always a serious character. I mean, Solid in particular went through a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He took a lot of crap along the way, and I think to a certain extent that's what attaches people to the character. I'd like to think that that's what they get from me, is that I love Snake, and I really felt for him in the times where he was being abused, and the fact that Meryl went off and married Johnny Sasaki, and I'm like, come on, going back to my ranch to die of old age, So I think you can feel in my performance and in the writing and the production of the game that it wasn't. There are some ridiculous aspects to Metal Gear, but in terms of feeling towards the character, it was always, very real and very, very heartfelt. And that was an amazing way to say goodbye to the character. And when people, say, oh, you got replaced and some guy took over for you for Metal Gear 5, I'm not familiar with his work, but just kidding. My run was incredible in terms of those games that I did, and it really came to a nice end. It wasn't like we left off on a cliffhanger and then Kiefer came in and
Totally.
took over the same story. It was a different thing.
Yeah, it was a different thing. 5 was a good game, but it was a weird game.
I wouldn't know.
And you could also see that Kojima was going through some stuff when all that stuff was.
Yeah. I mean, it was a fraught time.
Do you have a relationship with the studio now? Because you worked with them for so long. Are you in contact and?
Yeah, with Konami. Yeah, I have a good relationship with them. They just put me in Bomberman. I did a couple of cameos as Solid Snake and Big Boss.
In Bomberman.
Yeah.
So okay, cool.
Yeah, you can pick them, and
Oh.
and it's kind of cool because they got somewhat different voices, and so
And you're in Smash.
and I'm in Smash, which was just Nintendo had licensed it out, and they asked me if they could do it again, and I was like, yeah, sure.
Did you record new stuff for that?
I didn't.
Oh,
I
okay.
wanted to.
Yes.
I offered to, but
Yeah.
they used what we had before. I think they were afraid it was going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Which- so I do have a good relationship with Konami, and I hope that the franchise goes on, and we'll see.
What if they asked you to come back? Would you be interested?
Yeah.
Yeah. So would we all?
You don't know my. You heard my philosophy, right?
What's that?
Yeah. Oh, do it.
Just do it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in.
The Michael
Where
Caine.
do I sign?
We all do Michael Caine
I'm
around here.
Michael Caine,
We all do Michael
and if
Caine.
you want me to do Snake, I'll do it.
I'm going to let Johnny steer for a second here. I'm going to look on the chats
Sure.
here because I'm sure people have got some questions for Mr. David Hayter.
That's a lot of chat.
There is some chat going on here. So go ahead and ask David some questions there, Jen.
Oh my God, there's
Okay.
too many, too many. What is your favorite Metal Gear game?
Snake Eater.
Yeah, it's the best.
Same with
Number
me.
3.
Hey,
Number 3.
What?
I brought my copy to get signed.
Oh, there you go.
Absolutely.
Smart man. Smart man.
Shagohod.
Yeah, no, I love the other games as well. I love
too, yeah,
I
they're
love
all
1,
really
I
good.
love 4, I love 2.
The emotion in that one is so powerful.
And
Yeah.
the retro feel of it,
Yes,
and
yeah.
also it's the first one where it's like Big Boss is young and he's full of beans. He's like ready to go out and be a hero.
You get to see him as a person rather than being talked about.
That's right,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
get to see him before he's beat down, and then
Yeah.
he, of course, takes a lot of abuse. along the way.
Yeah, the ending is just so powerful.
Oh
and
my
so
God,
deep.
yeah.
Yeah, that ending is astounding.
It kind of
Lori
makes-
Allen was incredible.
It
as
makes the
boss.
character, the ending. It sort
Yeah.
of underlines why he is Solid Snake, why he is the character that he becomes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was a brilliant game.
All right, we've got a question from Sam I Am 111, and I think this is one that everybody's wondering. Would you be involved in the Metal Gear Solid film? You know Jordan. You've talked with him.
Yeah, well, Jordan and I are. We've been discussing lately about going to get a beer, and I mean, he was kind of nervous to reach out to me. 'Cause
Was he?
didn't,
Yeah.
Well, he didn't know what my relationship was with the character anymore, and so.
Yeah.
And then one of the other actors said, "Oh no, Dave doesn't care. It's all good."
Yep.
So so we started chatting over the internet. So we're talking about getting together. As far as involvement goes, that's entirely up to Jordan. He's the director. I'd always be happy to do something, but if not, I just like any other fan, I hope the movie is amazing, and
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like it's in the right hands?
I think so. He's a pretty brilliant director. Not only that, but he's a fan, clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, like a fan.
Yeah.
So, his Twitter bio says, just an old killer hired to do some wet work. And so that makes me feel like, okay, he's got it's not some, workhorse director who just got some job plopped in his lap. He loves this.
It's like a dream.
yeah.
You can kind of feel it coming off of the
Yeah,
game.
and that's what you have to do. I mean, especially for something as strange and complex and with as much history as Metal Gear, you have to know it. You have to love it. So.
You did a little tinkering with the script as well when you were working on Metal Gear stuff as well, right? In terms of no?
Not really. I mean, I would have, but they wouldn't let me. As we made those 9 games, I was already a working screenwriter. I was rewriting constantly, and so, some weird stuff I'd be like, why is this person meowing? Not sure what that means. And anytime I'd ask for a clarification, or anytime I'd say, wouldn't it be better if I used this word than this word, they would call Tokyo to run it past the producers to see if we could change it, and the answer was always no.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn it. So I got the sense very quickly that just say what we tell you to say, actor boy, and that's your situation.
We had a little bit of a similar thing working on the behind the scenes on the game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's its own thing, and it's its own voice. I couldn't write a Metal Gear game. It's its own unique world. So I got it. And when you're hired as an actor, you work as an actor.
Do you still have a relationship with Kojima Productions? With Ken? No.
No.
Hideo? No. Oh.
No. I never really did.
Yeah.
Like people are always like, "What's it like to work with Hideo Kojima?" And I'm like, I have no idea.
Right.
He was,
You were an
Kojima,
element in this massive.
Yeah, and his
montage
and
he's
his
putting
work goes in Tokyo.
Yeah.
So he works on the Japanese versions of the games, and then when it would come to the English translation, it was directed. Every one of them was directed by a woman named Chris Zimmerman, who was amazing. But we were kind of, I think to Kojima, we were the English dubbing crew.
Right.
So, I mean, I've met him a few times, but I don't know him any better than you do.
Right.
I mean, maybe you probably know him better.
I don't know.
Yeah. Or maybe nobody does. I don't know. So it's not that I actively don't have a relationship with them. It's just I never really knew the man in the first place.
Yes, and I know people are curious about that. Go for it, Jen.
I'll say one of my this is interesting. Watchmen has become my favorite video game movie of all time. Yeah, sorry.
Comic book.
Comic book
Okay.
movie
Yeah.
of all time.
I didn't want to even ask.
Listen, let me just say,
Yeah.
I am in awe sitting next to this amazing guy. So I've been kind of nervous coming in, and I'm not a nervous person. But with Watchmen, did you feel a lot of pressure writing that? Because it's such an iconic 1980s comic book graphic novel.
It's true.
So is there a lot of pressure going in to write that? Like,
Well, look. Anytime you're working on a $100 million plus film, there is an enormous amount of pressure. The pressure, but I think what you're asking is, do you feel the pressure from the fans?
and
Or
also,
to get it right,
when
or-
you're sitting there, you're looking at the page, you're like, do you just go blank and like, how do I do this? Like, is there like really tough moments?
Are you ready to put on a workshop right now?
Well, we don't have to go that deep.
No.
but
I'll
know
tell
what
you.
I mean?
But the answer is not what you'll expect. The answer is no. When you have a piece of material that is so brilliantly written,
Yeah, from
and
the original source material.
Yeah, the original source material is so brilliantly written, from every single visual to just about every line of dialogue to every line of description is so good. The adaptation is not that difficult. What is difficult is convincing the studio, again, to give you this outrageous sum of money to do a very dark, intellectual, twisted superhero movie, you know, and it was never going to happen until Zack Snyder, coming off of 300, said, I want to do that.
Thank God
at
for that.
At a point when he could do anything, he decided to do Watchmen, thank God, and we went and got it made. So no, adapting it was not a problem. And if the question is, was I worried about what the fans would think? No.
Just follow the source material, you'll be okay, because that
Yeah,
was so good, right?
my love of the source material was so fierce and so deep. I was like, it was the same thing with X-Men. I was like, if I love it, if I can feel it being Watchmen to me, then other people will feel that as well.
Yeah.
So it was really just the sort of the producing side of it, the getting the studio to understand that it can't just be a buddy movie. They're like, can we make it just a buddy movie between Dan and Rorschach, or can the Blue Man wear pants? I'm like, no, none of those things can happen.
I still can't believe he didn't wear pants. I was like, oh my God, it's like exactly like the comic. It's unbelievable.
It's exactly like the comic.
I can't believe they did that,
And what I love about it, and I don't know that people really realize this, is that body is the body that Dr. Manhattan has made for himself. Like, he wasn't built like
Right,
that
so
when
he
he was
had to bring himself back,
Oscar-Man.
yeah.
So that's the Wang he wanted.
His perceptual self-image or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, well,
Yeah.
give it a little, extra,
I'm gonna fly around and flaunt it.
Right.
In Vietnam.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which again is the key to the character of Dr. Manhattan to me.
Yeah.
He's a man who has the powers of a god, but inside he's still just kind of a man with a man's ego.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's that moment where he's starting to date Lori, and his current girl is saying, just watch when she starts to get wrinkles and starts to age, and you're still goddamn 30. And in his mind, he thinks it's true.
Right.
She's aging more noticeably every day.
That's what he says. Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, A, you could probably stop that, and B, he's just a dude. He's just this flawed guy who gets all the power in the world, and that's what makes him amazing.
And dangerous.
And enormously dangerous,
Yes.
because he
It's
just
terrifying.
he loses his
Yeah.
girlfriend, and on a whim he says, okay, I'm going to let the world burn.
Yeah.
Like, that's what happens with people with that level of ego who have that level of
So
power.
what was it like from writing it to seeing it? And were you around for all the production of it?
Not all of it. I mean, I was here
So-
for like 3 days while they
Yeah.
were shooting, which was amazing.
Right.
But no, a lot of it happened while I was off on other films. But
So what was it like for you to see that the first time?
it was astounding.
Yeah.
We had a premiere. First time I saw it was a premiere at the. Oh, that's not true. There was a little screening between, and it was. Oh my God, you guys would have died. It was Damon Lindelof and I think Joss Whedon and me and like 12 of the most amazing people you ever saw, and we watched it through and. Gave our thought. It was over at Warner Brothers, and then we had a little reception afterwards with Zach, and so it was pretty amazing.
awesome.
It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
stood the
Amazing.
test of time, that film,
It's
too,
gotten
right?
better over time.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's gotten better because I don't think for the theatrical version you needed more than a year to edit all that material.
Right.
And so the ultimate cut is my favorite, where they've cut in the Tales from the Black Freighter
Yeah.
and.
Yeah, it's incredible, and like that. I think that was what was so dismaying for me to not enjoy some of the later work that Snyder was doing with Batman and Superman. You know, like, because I am a fan. I love 300. I actually thought Man of Steel was pretty damn great, even some of the ballsy choices.
Sure.
This was terrific. And then it just seemed to like just ride off of the rails a little bit there. Do you have a favorite of the superhero films that you weren't involved with?
Well, those are lesser favorites. No, yeah, of course. I loved, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
I loved Logan. Deadpool. Deadpool 2 in particular is astounding.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Days of Future Past. I mean, I've got a bunch, but I guess those would probably be the top ones.
What's your
for me.
favorite movie of all time?
I typically say Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh,
Yep.
Seems
Because
very-
that's
yeah.
That is the
That's a good
greatest
one.
movie ever made.
it's the greatest movie ever made, and I'm here because of that. Because when I was 12 and I was in Mississauga, Ontario, and I was sitting watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they were looking for Indiana Jones, and the guy said, "I found him," and they said, "Where?" And he said, "There," and they pointed, and he was climbing up on that U-boat. I was just racked with like electricity went shooting up my spine, and I was like, whatever they're doing,
Yes.
that's what I want to do. I don't
Yes.
care what capacity, I don't care what it is. So it all comes from Raiders for me.
Yeah, I remember sitting at home back then, 1981 it was.
Yep.
And my dad comes home. He worked at the world's biggest bookstore. He's a manager
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, of
Yeah, and he came home one night and he said, "Hey, we're gonna go see this movie." And I said, "What movie, Dad?" I was like 7 years old. And he's like, "It's something like Raiders of something. I don't know." And I remember coming out of the theater with my dad. And my dad was not a fanboy like we are with movies. He just walked out of the movie, and never mind my swearing here, but all he said all the way to the car was, "Holy shit! Holy shit! What a movie!"
Yeah.
Oh, and he was so taken by it, and I still love the movie.
Well,
Absolutely.
I think
It's
we're all,
mind-blowing.
we're all sitting here right now because of Star Wars.
Star
and for me,
Wars for me,
Superman was
yeah.
a massive
Of course,
thing.
yeah,
And,
of course.
and Raiders of the Lost Ark and Close Encounter. Like, what a
Time
glorious
period.
time to
Time
kind of
period,
be
yeah.
exposed to.
It was an amazing thing to be that young and then have the cinema change like that.
Yeah.
For nerds like us,
Like
and
1982
it
was a
really
hell of a
cool.
year, yeah.
But it was Raiders that made me go, oh, I'm gonna change. I wanted to be a lawyer before that, and I was like, oh no, I'm not. Doing that.
So, how do we? Because there's so much, pre-knowledge and sort of expectation because of the success of movies like that and franchises like that. It's been hard for, James Cameron to recreate success with Terminator movies or whoever has been taking control. How do we get back to that? And is it possible to surprise us and shock us like we did back in the
Just
late 70s and 80s?
original ideas, so isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I didn't see Deadpool coming.
Yeah.
I think it helps when there's not a lot of expectation behind it, and you're making something that you're like, this is going to be groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But the internet isn't swirling around it, trying to like pick it apart before
Right.
it comes out.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between. It's like when Spielberg did Ready Player One. Like everybody knew about it. Everybody wanted to analyze every single frame and sort of pull it apart. And that's. If there is a drawback to being Steven Spielberg, it's that
Yes.
you have so much analysis going. And it's the same thing with James Cameron. So I think, like I have a film that's sort of a superhero film that I wrote that I want to direct. That's very cool and I mean, I kind of. It's not like Kick-Ass, but I kind of feel like it's got this original flavor and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And if I manage to make it, it'll come out of nowhere. Except now I've ruined it all. But you guys won't tell anybody.
Yeah, I guess that's it, right? Like we had Starlog magazine to read.
Back in
back
the
then.
day.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they only had limited access. It
Yeah.
wasn't like it wasn't like there were PAs on the set like snapping pictures and like sending things and there wasn't this massive global detective work.
Totally.
Going into
and we
analyzing
had to
everything.
wait as well.
Yeah.
Now we don't wait for anything. Now
No,
it's
instant.
weekly.
That's true.
Instant,
You
yeah.
know, now escapism is you can't escape escapism.
No, you can't escape escapism. There is no escape.
What did you think of Battle Angel?
I think it looks very interesting.
you
I
haven't
haven't
seen
seen
it
it
yet?
yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet, yeah.
My apologies.
So you recently were all over Twitter talking about something that went down while you were at Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was the threat of a gun on the premises while you were at Netflix. And
Yeah.
Wow, I
so,
didn't know that.
So tell me what you were going through through that, but also why the hell were you at Netflix?
Oh well, I'm writing and co-producing a show called Warrior Nun, based on the Ben Dunn comic books.
Awesome.
About nuns
Antarctic
and
Press.
warriors.
I was
Yeah.
surprised to see that. I was like, whoa, I remember this from back in the day.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
read that, yeah.
Yeah, so I was very lucky. The showrunner Simon Barry brought me in to my first writer's room. I did 6 months with these amazing writers, and so they're about to start shooting in Malaga, Spain.
Nice.
But towards the end, I mean, like 4 days before we were supposed to be finished, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to go home. And so I go out into the alleyway on the Netflix lot, and there's this woman. She comes out, and she's got like a walkie-talkie here, and she calls out to this guy. She's like, Dale, get in here. Everybody, we're on lockdown. Everybody needs to barricade themselves in their offices.
Oh my God.
So before she went back in, I was like, I'm sorry, excuse me, what's happening? Like this. And she said, there's an active shooter in the
Holy crap.
parking garage or in the building over there. And I looked down towards where the parking is, and there's just cops everywhere
Oh
on
my
the lot.
God.
So I went back into the office, and I said, there were like 5 other writers there, and I said, I don't want to alarm you, but here's the situation. And Netflix hadn't called us, like nobody
What?
let us know.
What? Yeah.
We were all just about to head right to the spot.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, it was a crazy moment. I'm not blaming Netflix, but so we barricaded ourselves in the office. We had one door we couldn't lock, so we put like couches up against it, and then, unbeknownst to me, we had this young writer, Matt Bosak, and he's probably about 30. He's been in the military, and he sat in a darkened office right off of the door that wouldn't close with a knife, so that if anybody came through, he would kill him.
Jeez.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah, wow.
And I was like, that's so the sort of thing I would have done if I was 30. But because I'm not, I went into like the safest room and just checked my Twitter and stuff
Lock
like
the
that.
door, you know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we were there for about 2 hours. Then they let us out, wouldn't let us get our cars. We went for beers and pizza, and then the whole thing was cleared. It turned out it had been a disgruntled employee who called in this fake gunman, and then they arrested him at his home, and we were able to go home.
Oh my God.
But it was, it was stressful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Had you been through anything like that before?
I've been through a lot of high stress situations, but not that.
Yeah.
You know, not a thing where you don't know who's going to come barging through the door. And
Oh, man.
and we were all cool as cool. You know, I like to be pretty cool in a crisis, and we were all relaxed and making jokes and everything. And then I went home and I drank half a bottle of whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Played
Keep the
video
nerves
games till
down.
4 in the morning, and I was like, I think I might have been a little more stressed than I had
man.
realized. So yeah, it was
You're
something.
You're friends with Elias Toufexis?
I am,
Yes,
yeah.
and he's down in Los Angeles now.
He
and,
is.
and
I just
he's
saw him
gone
the other
through
day.
Some stuff like that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy. Are you?
But he killed the guy.
He's dead. Yeah, Elias is young, so he doesn't put up with any of that stuff.
That's
But
right,
Have
that's
you
right.
seen? And he's been working out.
Oh no. The
Yeah.
guy's ripped.
Are you tight with a whole bunch of voice actors? I know that there's a lot of tweeting going on, and you see them at conventions. Do you get together like with cast members?
Well, Jennifer Hale is an old friend of mine.
Love you, Jennifer.
Love you, Jennifer.
Yes.
And she actually takes credit for me being Snake, which is under dispute, but she says she got me the first audition, which I appreciate. But she definitely got me the job of being the lead Jedi voice in Star Wars: The Old Republic.
That's fantastic.
So Jennifer's probably my best friend in the business. But like Kari Payton,
Who's killing it on Walking Dead?
who's
or
on
what?
Walking Dead, and I think he's up here now.
Cool.
So we had worked together, and and through these cons, I've gotten to know Fred Tatasciore, Nolan North, Troy Baker. The biggest stars in the business. Oh, and I've become friends with Maurice LaMarche, who is the greatest, funniest person. If you don't know who he is, Google him because he is mind-blowingly hilarious.
What's one of his characters?
He was, among a million things, on Futurama. He was Hedonism Bot. He was the news monster, Morbo. He is always, anytime you see an animated Orson Welles, it's him.
Yes.
good.
He was the Brain in Pinky and the Brain.
Awesome. That's awesome.
He's astounding. So I'm very lucky to know these people.
We could talk forever because
It's
you've
true.
done a million different things, and there's a million different ways. But we are going to wrap up soon. But I have to ask about working with Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Because you worked on a film called Wolves, where he was the star.
Yeah.
He seems like an amazing dude.
He is a force of nature. He is an amazing dude.
Yeah.
He's lovely, hilarious, loyal guy. And I didn't realize this, but my wife pointed out that some women find him attractive.
Some women, absolutely.
I didn't really. I was like, sure, he's big, he's cool, you know, whatever. I did not realize until I was in a room with him how invisible I could be. But the thing about Jason is he is what he seems. So when you're with him, he's 6'5", he's like 245 pounds of muscle, and he's just huge. And the first time I met him was at a steak restaurant. He ordered 2 steaks, 3 salads, 3 huge beers, and you just wanted to be away from his mouth as he ate. And I'll tell you, so when we had our first lunch, so we met him, and it's like, oh, this is a whole experience, you know.
The craft service is going to go through the roof.
That's
now.
right. That's
Yes.
right. But if he loves you, you know, he's a good man to have on your side.
Sure.
But so he orders his lunch. This is the first time we'd met him, and the waiter says, you know, I'm surprised you didn't order in Dothraki like this, and he just goes, yeah, and kind of ignores him. And then at the end of the lunch, we're having this great time, we're joking, laughing, getting along like a house of fire. Waiter comes up with the check and he goes, I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't ask, you know, for a picture. And Jason literally goes, yeah, why don't you go F yourself? Nah, I'm just kidding, come here.
Yeah, that's my.
But he left him sitting for like 5 seconds, and the blood just drained out of this guy's face.
Oh my
So
God.
Jason's up like this, and he's like, "Ah," and the waiter's like, you know, just wetting himself, and that's Jason Momoa, man.
That's
He's
awesome.
And
That's awesome.
and he didn't say F.
Yeah. Did you predict Aquaman's success? When you saw that
Well, I
coming?
hope for it. You know, it's hard to say. Look, when you're spending $200 million on marketing,
Yeah.
you're probably going to do pretty well. But then after that, it becomes a matter of you know, how good the movie is, and I guess people really responded to it, and so I'm thrilled for him because I love Jason to death, and he deserves this moment.
Awesome.
Of who he is.
Awesome. David, you've got King Shark on The Flash coming up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
A whole new, Long Dark?
Long Dark.
The Long Dark.
Yeah, totally revised performance and rebooted sort of visuals and all that stuff. So, and that's an all Canadian sort of A-list Canadian talent game,
Right.
video game.
Hinterland Games?
Yeah,
Or Hinterland
yeah,
Studios?
Raphael von Lierop.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And when's that? Is that out soon-ish? Yeah.
Sure.
Like a couple of months or something.
No idea.
Okay. What's and then you've got the Netflix show Warrior Nun.
Warrior Nun probably
Yeah.
comes out at the end of the year or so, and then I just did a guest star on the season 2 premiere of Hot Streets with Justin Roiland as the pirate Creamy Zeus.
Okay.
I'm a pirate who has the powers of cream, obviously.
Okay.
I can trickle, you know, that sort of thing.
And
My cream will give you screen dreams.
you're in Smash right now. You're going to be in
Super
Bomberman.
Smash, Bomberman.
And what's?
Oh, and Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which
Oh, yeah.
will
Oh,
come
that's
out this
right,
summer.
yeah.
Eventually going to come out this game.
Eventually.
For it, yes.
This summer.
Yes, eventually. I recorded it a while ago.
All right. So David Hayter, true to his word, you can find him everywhere. In
I am
all kinds of-
ubiquitous.
He is the Michael Caine of transmedia, right?
That's right.
Yes. Thank you for being on the show, buddy.
Thank you for having me. It's
Great to
always a
see you,
pleasure
man.
to see you.
Great to
I've known
see
this
you.
man for forever, and he's awesome.
Absolutely a
And
pleasure.
this man I just
An
met.
absolute pleasure.
What a delight.
Absolute pleasure.